oil, 2-cycle mix oil, and oil ratios, and what brands, and what are you going to use? I'm asked this question practically every day. I have an oil that I recommend, and I recommend it at 32 to 1. I don't know how many of you people follow along with automotive stuff that's happening in the world, but you know, General Motors' new LS motor failing. What they say, 800,000 engines failing, $2 billion debt going into General Motors partially over oil, but it's you know, manufacturing defects in the end. But it comes to mind because with all of that, they recommended in that motor a 0-20 oil in a pickup. And you're gonna hook a trailer to and tow something down the road. I wouldn't put that water in any engine, you know. And it came out that the only reason that they put that light oil in that motor isn't for the protection of the motor. It's so that engine passes emissions. So do what you want, right? A lot of people out there say you have to do whatever the manufacturer says you have to do for oil. If it's 0-20, you have to put 0-20 in it. A lot of people believe that. That's not a fact at all. GM's first thing about that warranty was to put 0-40 oil in it. Just put a heavier oil in it and it'll be okay. I'm sure it helped, but it's not the cure to a defective part, you know. But I bring it up because everybody believes that you have to use what the manufacturer says. Chainsaw manufacturers all say you have to use 50 to 1 oil ratio. It's mandated by the government that you use 50 to 1 ratio. If you go to the dealer and you talk to the dealer about it, they are mandated to tell you that you need to run 50 to 1 oil in it. They can't legally tell you that you can run 32 to 1 in it and it'll be just fine. So you're not going to get your best information from that dealer because he can't give it to you legally by government mandates. So, and what I have here is an 660. I actually have 3 to show you. One just came in. One's been here for 3 years. One's been here for 3 months. All have the same issue. And it's not a defective part. It's an oil-related problem. 50 to 1 or leaner. We have guys that swear that your saw will make more power if you use your oil at 100 to 1. And there are oil manufacturers out there who claim that. Well, I can claim I'm the tooth fairy, but I'm not. Don't believe all of this hype and bull that's out there. So, my recommendation, and it has been for 30 years, and I've got over 40 years of experience with saws. It's my bread and butter, has been for 40 years. This is what I do. And this is what I recommend. That. right? So I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to turn my camera around because I can't seem to turn it around while the video is on. I don't know why. That's my phone. But I'm going to show you some of this stuff. I'll tag 2 videos together. That's fine. I've got wear patterns to show and blue crankshafts and the lack of oil in the crankcase and those kind of things. So I'll be right back. And I'm right back. So oil rod bearing's blue, right? This saw's been here about 3 months. Let me see if I can show you here. There's a little bit of oil down there in the bottom end. You can see it down there, right? It's not very much, but there's oil in the bottom end. Right? So it's been here about 3 months. This one's been here 2 or 3 years. It's been laying open like this for a long time. And this saw's been open for about 2 months. There's dirt down there because it's been laying around, but there's an oily film down there. Another blue crank. Lower rod bearing, right? Been hot. Another saw just came in. We have another blued crank. It is bone ass dry. Like it's been washed and just put together, right? But it wasn't. I had to do a lot of cleaning to get this off. There isn't even the sign of an oil film in the bottom end. Okay? I wiped the piston clean before I took it apart. There was a very light film of oil on it. This piston is, and it's very difficult to show it, but there's signs of sanding marks that run in all kinds of directions. Hopefully you can see that. There's absolutely no machine marks on it anymore. There's a little bit right in here on each side. Piston gets forced forward and backwards in its stroke, not side to side, so this is where the piston gets the least amount of wear. And there's some sign of machining marks there. There's also a sign of it being scored at one time. And I believe that they scored it, cleaned up the piston, put a new set of rings in it because the rings do not show signs of that scoring. And the cylinder doesn't show the same signs of the scoring as if this cylinder and this piston haven't always been together, right? I think they probably swapped out the cylinder with a used one and cleaned up the piston, put a new set of rings in it, threw it back together. Even the top of the rod is discolored compared to the rest. I don't know if we can get the light just right, but it's kind of a, you know, it's blue, it's been hot. Wrist pin doesn't show that. So, you know, the puzzle of what everything happened here is hard to tell. The ends of the show a little type of bluing, but the main pin didn't. And for all I know, they may have polished this pin and got rid of that bluing. Don't know. Piston doesn't show a lot of heat though, because there's not a lot of carbon in the bottom of it. But we don't know what oil ratio they were running. You know, and this saw was dirty. I haven't cleaned it up completely. You know, it's full of this greasy dirt, right? I blew a tremendous amount of it off. It's not like the saw was just put together. It's been together quite a while. So you know, it wouldn't surprise me to learn that this saw is run on 100 to 1. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to learn that. I haven't talked to the guy. I don't know. Don't know how long he's had it. This one, of course, had a loose bearing pocket and a bad crank. So this becomes a saw that's not viable to repair. It's worth more in parts. This one the customer hasn't decided what to do yet, because I have to stand behind what I do. So here we have a blued crank, and I've always said to everybody, it's up to you what you want to do, but don't hold it against me if it fails, because I let you know, I told you that it's not something I would put back in my saw. It's tight, it feels good. Same with this one. You know, I mean, it's tight, it feels good. It's right, but we don't know. You know, it's been hot. It's been hot enough to change color. It's been hot enough to change the hardness of it, and it's a bearing surface. So if we've made it soft, how long is that going to last? Right? We don't know that. We don't know its temper anymore, right? And there's really no feasible way of checking I mean, I can check out here for temper, but I can't check the bearing surface without tearing everything, you know, splitting the crankshaft, taking the rod out, and testing the bearing surface. And that's just not feasible, right? So I don't blame this on the part. I blame this on oil. Always have. This piston in this saw is in really good shape. Lots of machine marks on it yet. I don't know that it's ever been replaced, you know. These are old saws. We don't know the history of them. But this piston is completely wore out, you know. Now, you know, if I wouldn't have found these sanding marks in there, you know, I would have blamed this probably on not much oil either, or, you know, a lot of hours on the saw. But like I said, the wear in the cylinder and, you know, those indications tell me that this piston, that cylinder, something's not original to this saw, right? And when I see blue here, a piston that's been scuffed up, cleaned up, I say it's failed once already, and they've swapped out possibly a used cylinder, because I cannot see any sign that this was ever scored. So and it's 40 years of experience, guys. It's not that that I'm trying to hound anybody, you know. I put these stickers on my saw as a very strong suggestion. I'm not the government. I'm not mandating you to do this. If you want to take your saw home after I poured it, and you want to put 100 to 1 mix in it and kill it, you go right on ahead. It's your money. It doesn't matter to me. Don't bring it back to me for warranty, because I'm not, you know. When I open up a saw and there's no oil in it, how am I supposed to give you any kind of warranty? This thing's been laying around there for a couple of years, and there's still an oil film in there. This one's been laying open for a couple of months, and there's still oil in it. Although that's not enough oil. It should have 3 times that much oil in the bottom when I open them up. Okay. I like that stuff. Been using it for, I don't know, 25, 30 years. And I've never seen this from that oil in all those years. And all the saws, all the guys that I recommend using it have never seen this failure in one of their saws, mixing it at 32 to 1. That's all I can tell you. Is it the best oil out there? I can't say that. I'm not an oil expert. I don't claim to be an oil expert. It's what I use, it's what I recommend, and we don't see these failures. There's guys out there that say that bluing is part of the hardening process of that crankshaft. But I've got videos out there, I've talked about this before. A brand new crankshaft out of the box, directly from steel, and they are not blue. I have never seen a new factory crankshaft that was blue. Never in my life. Here we have an old 34, 36. It failed. That's how I took it out of the saw. It's not blue. Nothing's blue. I can, you know, I can just, how many do you want to look at? Yeah, saws laying all over the place in here. Part saws, junk saws, ain't getting fixed saws. You got crankshafts in all these saws. I got boxes of parts down here. But there's no blue crankshafts in any of these saws. They failed for other reasons. You know, we don't have wore out cylinders. We don't, the pistons last, you know, 1,000 hours in many cases. You know, I had a old 44. It was one of my favorite saws, 440. Favorite saws. I bought it new in 2001. I ported that thing, you know, pretty strong saw at the time. And I ran it up until about 4 years ago. And I finally sold it because I really didn't need it anymore. And, man, that thing cut one hell of a lot of wood. I wish that I could have put that on a MGD1 and seen how many hours was on it, because it wouldn't surprise me if that saw had 4,000 hours on it. You know, saw lasted 20 years plus. They're about 20 years. And it was used a lot. That was my primary saw, and it got used for everything. So we cut several semi-loads of logs every winter, and I don't know, 400 or 500 face cord of firewood for many, many years with that saw. So it had a lot of hours on it, had a lot of time on it. That saw was falling apart from every other thing, from being crushed to, you know, bouncing around in the truck, the skidder, the whatever, and things were getting broke off from it, and the cases were failing, and it still was running, and it had never been rebuilt. Never had a piston in it, a ring, a bearing, had a couple seals, some boots, carb kits, but nothing oil-related failure ever. It's this stupid mandate from our government that you guys got to get past and put some oil in your gas. You know, this crankshaft costs in a neighborhood of $400. Right? You can go buy a cheap aftermarket one for, I don't know, $100, maybe less. But it ain't worth putting in there because I guarantee it to fail. You know, I don't do aftermarket parts for a reason. So I don't know, just wanted to show this to you guys. I keep pressing and pushing oil problems. You know, there's so many guys out there that swear I'm using 100 to 1 and I don't have a problem with my saws. And they put 20 hours a year on their saw cutting a couple cords of firewood. And yeah, well, they get by for a long time, but that doesn't mean, because this saw ran. This one ran just fine. This one ran just fine, right? It doesn't mean you haven't done some damage to the motor. Did you take it apart and look at it before you sold it? Highly unlikely. So, anyways, just kind of wanted to go over this a little bit. Again, like always, like I said, this saw, I took it apart. I was kind of surprised. There is no sign of a drop of oil in that case anywhere. There is no oil film of any kind down in the bottom of that case. Nothing. Just nothing. Dry as a bone, like you just washed it out with brake cleaner. So, anyways, till the next one. .372X torque. Seal oil up here. Seal oil on the cylinder. You got oil on the piston. Right? Right, pretty obvious oil, right? That all looks good. Look down the bottom end. There's no pool of oil down there. Drop most. There's a little oil film, but not nearly as much oil as I'd like to see in a new saw. And this is a new saw, so here we are, you know. No bluing, right? And it's just, there's no oil film here. You can't, you can barely feel it, but there's no oil down there on these bearings, any of these bearings, like what's on the piston, right? So I've mentioned this in the past as well as what fails first on a raw gas situation. Well, this oil kind of hangs into these bearings or piston a little longer than it does on a bearing, and the failure usually shows on the piston first by scoring, but the bearing is what truly gets the brunt of the damage, because that's where all your pressures are and all your spinny parts are, and that stuff all gets washed off very quick, where this oil tends to get trapped for a little bit longer on the piston. But straight gas also is all the way around the cylinder, not just at the exhaust port. If you see a failure at the exhaust port, scoring at the exhaust port, it is always heat related, not oil related. It's when it's scored all the way around that you can start blaming straight gas, and everything is very dry. So this is I don't know this oil. It's red. It's extremely sticky, like thick, sticky, and you would certainly think that being that thick and sticky, there'd be something in the bottom, but there's not. It's washed pretty much completely dry in there. Doesn't bring any up on the counterweights, right? So who knows what's going on there. But anyways, just thought I'd show another one here, as long as I'm taking another one apart. No, there's oil up here. There's oil right up in the top end. This saw was run just enough to shine up the sprocket just a little bit. Let me get focusing on that. Just barely shine up the sprocket a little bit. It might have been enough at the dealer. Dealer tuned it, or the customer here ran it for a short amount of time to test it before he sent it off to me to have it ported. So anyways, more lack of oil.